The Orlando Magic beat the Atlanta Hawks. It's Celtics Magic. Let's dive into a quick preview right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Being down, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT Karalis, recap the madness every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Prime time, dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus now that the playoffs are here, bonus podcasts when they play on the weekends, whenever they play. I don't know what the schedule is going to be for Celtics and Magic, but we're going to find out pretty soon. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast, watch the show on YouTube, get into that comment section, let me know what you're thinking about everything that we're saying here, because we're going to be saying a lot. That's a smooth kind of intro that makes me the best podcaster in the Celtics podcasting sphere, right? I'm John Karalis, by the way. I've been covering the Celtics for about 20 years, and I'm doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. Today, I got Tom Westerholm with me. What is going on, Tom Westerholm?
Say a lot. We got a lot to say. I'm ready to do. Yeah, I'm smooth and ready to do this thing.
Let's do that podcast.
Yeah.
Tom, you can find Tom's work at boston.com. Okay, so this is all about the Celtics first round matchup, and we'll sprinkle in some practice stuff and all that, because Jaylen Brown did practice. Everybody says he looks good. We didn't see him, but we saw a little 2 seconds of video. So 2 seconds of Jaylen Brown playing basketball, and I'm ready to make a complete determination about his health, having watched those 2 seconds of video.
Yeah.
But
a quick mea culpa, I think, is probably, I feel like I certainly bought into the idea that he was and should be playing for that all NBA spot, and then he sat out. So, how about Jaylen?
Whatever you got to do, whatever. I feel like once it was clear that he wasn't going to make it, there was some question, I think, early on that he might make it.
Yeah.
And then I think the injury sapped enough where all the tiebreakers were not going to go his way, and he wasn't going to get in. So regardless, I thought going for it was fine. And then once that was clear that it wasn't going to happen, then you did the smart thing. Yeah. And we'll get to Jaylen. We'll get to Jaylen a little bit. We'll get to Jaylen a little bit, because the big news here is that the Orlando Magic beat the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know, Tom. Like, how did the Hawks now? You got Trae Young, best player on the floor, man. That guy couldn't do it. I'm so shocked that Trae Young couldn't come up big in that big game.
I mean, he was so cool, calm, and collected toward the end of the game too.
Pillar of maturity, always.
Yeah. No, I think. I mean, honestly, I'm glad that the Hawks didn't, win that one. Just like, I feel like we have. I don't know. We've antagonized the city of Atlanta enough, haven't we? Like, with the Trae Young stuff. Like,
no,
I feel like no. Okay, well, fair enough. But I feel like if we, I don't know. I'm okay with not making it. Like, I think the Magic are a respectable basketball team. They got some fun young guys. Like, I don't feel like I'm gonna be just like dumping on them constantly, like I would be if we were about to watch what I assume would be 4 games of Trae Young. Like. I don't need that. Like, the Magic are a more interesting matchup because we know exactly how the Celtics would handily beat the Hawks. We know exactly how they would do it.
Exactly. Game plan's super easy, simple. You know,
for the same reason that it was ridiculous that anybody thought that the Celtics would need 7 games to beat the Mavericks last year. The Celtics would just stomp all over the Hawks. So I'm glad we don't have to talk about that one.
Yeah. Look, I am admittedly a card carrying member of the Trae Young haters club.
Yeah,
makes it so easy. He makes it so easy.
He does.
He makes it so easy. You know, he's a good basketball player.
Obscenely talented, right?
Yeah,
Just like unbelievably
yeah.
talented player.
Maybe one of the best passers in the league.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's capable of a major offensive outburst, but 8 of 21, he had 28 points. It was a minus 22. And 28 points because he went to the line 12 times and hit 11, like typical Trae Young game. So, but look, let's not. I mean, I don't want to disrespect the Orlando Magic by making this all about Trae Young as much as I want to continue the piling on. And he got ejected and all of that stuff. It's very easy, very visceral.
He's going to get fined too. Also,
yeah. Oh my God, like that's talk about like. I mean, he's so mad that you know they might be looking for a new coach this summer. You know, you never know.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Orlando Magic won this game, and honestly, I feel like this game was a very nice microcosm of all the reasons why Boston should win and all the reasons why the Orlando Magic could make this difficult. Starting with why Boston should win, Orlando went into a major funk in the third quarter, 18 points, and it's not exactly stout Atlanta defense because of this, right? So that they are the Magic, they are capable of that 18-point quarter. They are capable of going super cold. Yeah. Franz Wagner is, you know, runs hot and cold and has not exactly performed his best in these types of situations. So you get that side of, you know, Boston should win this pretty easily, and they should. But you also get Banchero had a monster second half, and he had a ton of and ones, and you get guys like Anthony Black and Cole Anthony going, you know, crazy, getting super hot from three, which they're capable of. You got to be careful about who you let shoot the ball. And they got a bunch of offensive rebounds and had, what did they have? 25 second chance points. They were 11 of 14 on second chance point attempts. So it's if you do what you're supposed to do, you should beat the Orlando Magic. But if you go out there and you mess around at all, they are capable of putting one on you, and Banchero can make you pay. Yeah,
for sure. And I think, you know, for the Celtics too, it's like this is not quite as this isn't like as clear cut a matchup, right? Like they love to hunt the matchups. They love to, you know, to pick on a guy. They love to, you know, just kind of do the same thing that works over and over. The Magic have a lot of like big kind of like aggressive dudes. Like I think that's going to make this like a much more interesting series that way. Like you're going to have to come up with more creative options. And I think to your point, right, you look at that cold streak and it's like, I don't think that teams can survive cold streaks like that against the Celtics for certainly not for as long as Orlando had one today, right? Like you miss a bunch of shots against the Celtics are going to get the rebound. They're going to get out. They're going to get, pass, shoot. They're going to get into all that stuff. That's a lengthy, cold snap like that is going to doom you. So like, I think it's, I don't know, on the broadcast, they were obviously, trying to hype up the upcoming matchup a little bit, the Magic, they have a chance here. And it's like, barring something wild, probably not, because like I think those cold streaks will doom them. But I do think that like this is a team that is a little bit more capable of putting a scare into Boston, right? Of obviously the Celtics didn't make any threes the last time they played the Magic because they didn't have any players on the floor, any other starters really at all. But like even before that, the Celtics had trouble shooting threes against the Magic the previous time as well. Like this is a different kind of challenge for the Celtics. So I think could be a somewhat interesting series at least.
Well, yeah. Let's dive into that a little bit more. We'll continue this conversation here about the Orlando Magic and what it might take to make this an interesting series. Today's show is brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. When you think about it, when's the last time you had a service emergency? If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications all through an app on your phone or your computer. You don't need to carry 2 phones. With OpenPhone, you can manage business calls and texts from one app, whether you're on the go or at your desk. Favorite feature there should be the shared inbox that your team can jump into any conversation without missing a beat. And with AI call transcripts and summaries, you save time on follow-ups, and it ensures you never lose track of customer interaction. OpenPhone is offering you, Locked On Celtics listeners, 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone, OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you're switching from another service, OpenPhone will even port your existing numbers over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Today's show also brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Hold on. Yeah, Amazon Fire TV. These guys. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports, College Football 25, to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Avowed. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6E, and auto low latency mode, advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. And, I've been known to play a little bit online too, and any sort of lagging dooms you. So you want to make sure that you get that latest technology available here. You play the high quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. If you've already got a console, Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing to take you or your kids' games with you wherever you plug in. So go ahead and head on over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube, third generation. Today's show is brought to you by me, John Karalis, asking you to go ahead and sign up for the new Locked On Celtics newsletter. We've got you covered all playoffs long, and as a subscriber, you're going to be entered to win one of 3 amazing prizes. We're giving away a $2,500 Best Buy gift card to upgrade your Sports Cave setup, $300 in Game Time gift cards, or a $200 Fanatics gift card. Super easy to enter. Subscribe. You have until April 30th to subscribe, and you will be automatically entered to win. Don't miss a moment of this championship run with the Locked On Celtics newsletter. Subscribe today and enter to win by clicking on the link in the description. All right, Tom Westerholm. So the Celtics, we got to do this, right? Because my opinion is that the Celtics are going to win. They're going to win this series easily, fairly easily.
Yeah.
But we got to explore the potential worst case scenarios, right? Like, aside from injuries, right? What would it take for the Orlando Magic to make this competitive? Make it, I don't know. What first of all, what's a competitive series? Is it like the Pacers sweep last year where it's like every game's within 5 points and you're sweating everyone out?
Yeah, I think it could be one of two things. I think it could be that. I also think that, like, if you get the one, if there's one Cole Anthony game where he just, like, they just kind of like lose track of him early and then he just gets hot and goes off, something like that, and then if there's and then just another random game, like, like a 6-game series like that one against the Hawks a couple of years ago, where it was just like, okay, guys, what's going on here? Like, I think those are the kind of the type of close series that you could kind of see happening. I think if you let Cole Anthony get going, you let him get hot. The Celtics have done that with like opposing guards every now and then, like It happens sometimes. And then I think too, you kind of you mentioned one thing that I think is going to matter a lot. I think the second chance stuff, like, if, you got to, like you said, you got to do the right things, play with the right process. And to your point, I think the reason that you and I both expect the Celtics to handle their business just fine is because this team has looked really professional over the last month. It's just like, I don't see them all of a sudden being like, yeah, we're not taking the Magic seriously. It's like, I mean, you took Charlotte seriously the last 2 games of the season. You look, very professional. Like, you're good. And then I think the other thing is just like, can the Celtics generate and, take enough 3-pointers to make things comfortable? And I think that they're going to be, I do think they're going to be able to do all those things. But to me, those are the things that could make it a series.
So I think those are the things that you mentioned, the 2 things right there, the second chance points in every stinker that the Celtics have put up this season.
Yeah.
It's been the laziness to not box out, and the Magic are young and athletic, and they have size, and they will crash. And because they're not great at shooting. So a lot of times their best offense is just to put it up on the rim and go get it. Like it's kind of weird that way. It's not actually an offense, but it's also, if you're good at offensive rebounding, then sure, just put the shots up and we'll figure it out. We'll create more opportunities for ourselves. So that's number one. If they are not, if they're not there, present and doing what they're supposed to do, that's the theme here. Do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And then the 3-point volume, and making sure that you're taking the right shots. There's going to be a temptation. I think if I'm the Magic, I'm playing that drop coverage and daring Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Jayson, all those guys that drive. I'm daring them to come into the paint and feel like you want to score at the rim. Because another thing where I go back to the OKC game, that second half, where they got kind of drawn into a attack the basket kind of offense, and they got away from making the right reads.
Yeah.
And if you just say, hey, come on, attack the basket, there's this tendency to be like, no, you got to take away the rim. Actually, with Boston, you don't actually want to completely take away the rim. You want to draw them in, not give them their outlets, and dare them to take twos. If you get into a 2-point shooting contest with Boston, you got a shot.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So
especially if you're a team that hits the offensive glass. So
yeah. So that's a team like Orlando. Their best chance is to muck it up and get gross and make it, both teams shooting 40% and use their physicality and use their everything. And they brought it up on that, on the broadcast. Can't call all the fouls, be super physical, be super handsy, get Jayson Tatum upset at the refs, get these guys yelling at the refs instead of getting back. Because if they are at all not fully present, the Magic can make a run and the Magic can make things difficult. And if the Celtics will still win this series, but a game 1 where Orlando, even if the Celtics win, but if the Celtics win 92-85 and it's just been a back and forth slog, that it wouldn't be a moral victory for Orlando, but it would be almost like a blueprint of like, that would give them the confidence to say, okay, you know what? We can hang with these guys, come back in game 2 and just hit them harder. And the Celtics have to be ready for that and match that physicality, but make sure you are getting that ball on offense out, getting the right shots, hitting those shots, coming back and setting your defense.
That said, it is really hard to keep the Celtics, it's certainly, below 100, but even, I mean, this team can really score. Like, I think, even in that scenario, that 92-85 scenario, I do feel like you and I would be coming on the pod the next day and being like, all right, do we really think the Magic can
Yeah.
the Celtics to 92 again? And I think that is why you kind of, even setting aside the 2 seed versus the 7 seed, the defending champions, like the 60 win team, even setting all that stuff aside, I think that's, that factor of like, it's just hard to stop the Celtics from scoring. And for a team like the Magic that has trouble scoring sometimes, it's just going to be hard to keep that up for any extended period of time in a series.
And the other side of it is they can't call all the fouls, but they can call a lot of them. The Magic do foul plenty. And so the Celtics will put a lot of pressure on Orlando. Like, okay, yeah, you want to be physical? All right, we'll force you to foul and just pile up the points.
Yeah.
The Celtics can end up taking like 40 free throws in a game.
Send Tatum into the paint where he can, finish or draw a foul. Like, he's strong. Like, you did,
Yeah. A whole lot more on this series coming up this week. That's the initial thought. I'm not going to make an official prediction yet, but Celtics pretty easily, I think, is going to be the consensus here.
Yeah.
Unless Tom wants to make some news.
I do not. I have no I have no interest. I mean, look, like I obviously, but obviously I have no interest in making news in that way, but also just like, nah, dude, like anybody at this point who is like kind of doubting or sort of like, oh, the Celtics haven't done X, Y, Z. The Celtics have done everything. They've proved everything. I will pick them until.
Yeah. I think I saw someone tweet out that they're minus 8,000 heading into the series as favorites. Like heavy favorites. So, and that's how it's that's accurate. All right, let's come back. We'll talk about Jaylen Brown, his knee, all of that stuff is coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. And, my wife loves Skims. She buys a lot of their stuff already. I know that when she heard they were making underwear for men, she was like, oh, okay, you're going to like those. I gave them a try. I'm actually wearing my Skims right now. They're very comfortable, right? They fit well. They're just the right style. They offer something for everyone. Boxer briefs, classic briefs, the perfect balance of comfort and style. The boxer brief is, it's super comfortable. It stays where it's supposed to be. When you're active, it works with you. When you're, it's just super comfortable. You almost forget that you're wearing because it's lightweight. It just feels great. Look, guys, you can treat yourself. You don't have to be the typical dude and just buy your underwear in packs of 24. I mean, you can if you want, but you could also choose to find something more comfortable at Skims. And trust me, they are really good. You can shop Skims men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA and Skims stores. You don't have to buy them at the wholesale clubs, at the big box stores. You shouldn't be buying your underwear there. Go to skims.com/LockedOnNBA. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA. Game night has every game covered every night, and with the playoffs, you get to be a little bit more in depth. So I'm there on Friday nights on Fridays during the day, Thursday nights with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. There's also Locked On NBA, the debate style show in the middle of the day there. So go check out the Locked On NBA podcast wherever you get your podcast. Tom was at practice today. Jaylen Brown was out there shooting around, making a trick shot or two. Very impressive trick shot with the side basket, baseball toss, bank shot. Nice. The Celtics released a quick hype video from practice, and we saw Jaylen take a fadeaway corner three. It looked normal. We saw him driving. He dunked. He's, I don't want to make too much of 2 seconds of video, but having gotten the shots in his knee and then going through a practice after taking a few days off, if you're just looking for good signs, and I don't know when Jaylen's going to actually talk to us and we get the full scoop on everything that happened, but
yeah,
he went through the whole practice. Al Horford said he looked great. Drew Holiday said, looked good to me, looked like JB. And so we know that his knee isn't going to be like magically healed, but after all of this, at least there is a good sign that the 3 games off, the shots, whatever, at least worked well enough for him to go through a full practice, that this isn't a case of he's just sitting on the sideline doing nothing and watching. He's participating, which is important.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like you look ahead at the playoffs, obviously there's rest days between games and all that stuff. Like you're not going to run into any more, there's no back-to-backs, nothing like that. Like I think, it's the news is as good as it can be at this stage. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that doesn't, I think there's still plenty of concerns about like the way, we haven't started the playoff run yet. Like playoff runs are unbelievably intense. Like they're very physically demanding, very physically taxing. And, I think that the knee storyline is not going anywhere anytime soon. But I mean, as much as you can before game 1 of the first round, I think that's all encouraging stuff. And, I obviously you put a small amount of kind of like salt on, like, okay, like, I'm sure Drew Holiday said that he looked like JB, it's
of course,
like, but I don't know. It's interesting, right? Because it's interesting to think about, like, okay, what percentage of Jaylen Brown does Jaylen Brown need to be to make this run? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I certainly needs to be really good. He's certainly capable of being really good, even not at 100%, but we'll see.
To me, the answer is Kristaps Porzingis. And
you're right.
The percentage of Jaylen can be lower if Porzingis is there.
Right. Yeah.
If Porzingis is not, the percentage of Jaylen has to be pretty high.
Yes.
And that's just how it goes.
Well, it's so funny that we're even talking about Porzingis because he's healthy. Like he's like, and I mean, of course we have to, but like we've seen no indicators that he's not healthy, but it's still just like, well, here's open.
Yeah. It is here's hoping, because as we've said before, he doesn't just sprain an ankle.
Right.
He suffers a, whatever, like some 10-syllable thing that no one's ever heard of. And that when I ask an orthopedic surgeon, hey, what's this injury? And they go, I haven't heard about that one in a while. That's what Porzingis gets. That's the problem with Porzingis. He doesn't just get sick. He doesn't get the flu. He gets something that knocks him on his back for like 3 weeks. And people are like, well, is this something else? Or like, so, he's got the plague. He doesn't just have the sniffles. And so that's
he's gonna get like a stomach worm that like everybody thought was extinct. You know what I mean? That, like some Jurassic Park era.
Yeah. Like somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson's gonna come out and be like, "Oh, I saw this in a Neanderthal once." That's gonna be the last time anybody's heard of it.
It's like the people who just created dire wolves again created this stomach worm for some reason, and Kristaps Porzingis got it.
Yeah, somehow he's got it. But if he can stay healthy, and of course, it's also entirely possible he can just stay healthy.
Yeah,
it's it's 16 wins. It's 28 games. Can he have a 28 game stretch at the most? And let's say it's 2, 4, 6, 24, 23, 22. I mean, whatever. If he can make that just a couple dozen games, can you make it through a couple dozen games? Then JB can be 50%, 60%,
like 70, a lot, significantly less. Yeah,
because you don't have to be as good when he's behind you, right? If he's protecting the rim, you can get beat, and you can actually work getting beat into your defense by veering and switching.
And offensively, you can, like the Porzingis, Derek White, Jayson Tatum trio, offensively is just monstrous, right? Like nasty. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that more than anything, I think is the key to the entire playoffs run. But if Jaylen is like 75% and Porzingis is there, then I'm not worried about anything. And then I'm just breathe a sigh of relief. So, but ultimately, like what I want and can't wait for, other than, because this would mean they won a championship, would be a mid-June press conference with Jaylen Brown where he can be like, okay, so this is what really happened. And we can figure all of that stuff out. And he can be like, yeah, I was, whatever. But he could actually tell us if playing in these games and at the end of the regular season actually showed him some of the stuff that he needed to learn and all of that. So, but bottom line for now, as we record this on April 15th, Jaylen Brown was at practice and he actually participated in practice. And the tiny, tiny little glimpse, fleeting glimpse that we have behind the curtain says he looked okay and he made it out okay. And he was on the floor after the practice, going through some light shooting. He wasn't doing anything crazy, but he was going through some light shooting. He seemed to be in good spirits. So good signs. So
for sure.
Tom, thank you so much for being on here.
Appreciate you, man.
I always appreciate Tom Westerholm joining the show. So I'm hoping to get another special guest on to help look forward here towards the playoffs. We'll definitely do a crossover with Locked On Magic at some point before this series to fully preview this series. A lot of podcasting coming up. This is the place to be for all of your Celtics coverage. Between my Boston Sports Journal work, I've got everything you need here. So make sure you're subscribed to the Locked On Celtics podcast, whether you want to listen on audio, Spotify, Apple, whatever. It's on YouTube. You're watching the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section there. That's a great place. A lot of people getting into the comment section. I love seeing the threads build up where people have a conversation. So hop in there and do that. And then I would love it if you shared the podcast and tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.